Welcome to the Carmiece Graves Radio Show. Thanks for tuning in. All right, we're going to talk about estate planning tips. We're going to continue our discussion on estate planning tips for single parents. Very important stuff.
1450 WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated, or their management. Good morning and welcome to the Carmiece Graves Show. Get ready to get great information on knowing your rights on estate planning, bankruptcy, divorce, alimony, and much more. Now for today's show, here's attorney Carmiece Graves.
Good morning. Welcome to the Carmiece Graves Radio Show. I'm attorney CPA Carmiece T. Graves, and I got the mic. All right, so where are we? We are still in Black History Month. I'm telling you, every day of my life feels like a decade. We are getting a lot done at the Carmiece Graves Law Firm, and that's wonderful because I have things to share with you about experiences we're having. These are real cases. You know how they have these stories are based on real cases, and the people in the identifiers will be protected. Same disclaimer. But anyway, we are in Black History Month. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks so much for tuning in. Last week I had a wonderful couple events that we, really got to honor. Actually, the history of Washington, D.C. PNC Bank had a wonderful program. I learned so much more about the history of Washington, D.C. and its pivotal role in, helping our people to attain freedom, being a place, a key portal for when people needed to really kind of get to Canada, needed to get to freedom. They definitely could get to D.C. and get help and get the support. That was just one of the facts, that D.C. has always been able to claim that they had independence several years before the Emancipation Proclamation was actually signed. So I just learned a lot. I've been in Washington, D.C. now for 17 years. This is the longest place I've ever lived, and I love it, and I'm happy to have been here. And I came here in 2002 to attend Howard University School of Law. So yes, but before then, I was practicing as a public accountant, certified, okay? And I just want to give a moment to, again, thank Karen Evans for receiving this year's Charlotte E. Ray Award bestowed upon her from the Washington Bar Association, more particularly the Greater Washington, the Greater Women's Chapter, GWAC, of Washington Bar Association. So, again, I was like, let me go ahead and really run down these facts. Because when I tell you guys that I walked the halls of Howard University and I was astonished to see that there were law students and law classes back in the 1800s, 1890s something, I was just astonished. So in 1872, Charlotte E. Ray became the first female African-American lawyer in the United States. So let's take a moment. 1872, okay? 1872. So you can imagine what the pictures look like. But she was born in 1850, so it was just, she didn't waste any time. In New York City, of course, New York, you know how we do. Anyway, so born January 13th in 1850, she didn't waste any time. She went straight on through. So just a meager 22 years later, she was admitted to practice, and she was the first woman. She was the first woman, not the first black woman. She was the first woman to be granted permission to argue cases in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. So we're so honored, we're so proud, and she's a legacy, and we're all following her footsteps. I mean, before any other women, that's how we do it. That's what this melanin do. When we take hold of a project, when we take on a craft, it's going to be on and popping. We're going to do it like nobody else's business. So how were we disenfranchised and then go to being the first woman? There were other women around, but still an African-American woman was the first, the first. That is astonishing. And it's not one time that I think about these things. You guys know I talk about it all the time on this show because it's amazing. It really breaks down some of the propaganda and lies that, we are invited to believe, that we can't accomplish or for some reason the fact that someone doesn't want us to achieve is the most relevant factor in whether we make it happen or not. So when you think about whether this society has the ability to stop you from doing what you want to do, think about Charlotte E. Ray, who graduated from law school in 1872. Imagine what society thought about her. And she a client. She represents your clients. She's a business. Just like Ollie Mae Cooper, who also Howard alum. Yay! I talked about last week. First woman to have her own law firm. So, the first have always been there. So I invite you all the time. It's a big deal. Your state of mind, what you believe about yourself, really is the most important factor, because clearly you weren't going to tell her she wasn't going to do what she came here to do, and she went about it. So it's amazing. I'm so proud. But again, congratulations to Karen Evans of the Cochran Law Firm. She's a wonderful, wonderful person. She's just so approachable. She's just so nice. So I couldn't be more happy. And, being involved with the National Bar Association has exposed me to great, powerful women like herself. And then she's also, of course, a member of the Washington Bar Association. We're all one big, family there. So what's going on? So I wanted to talk about estate planning for single parents, okay? Estate planning for single parents. And I talk about estate planning, and I had a very personal experience. I had a really personal experience where a family member reached out to me and had to talk about, some medical issues that, one of my family members is dealing with, which, may have her in the hospital for some time, and there's kids involved, and it just got really real. So I understand when it comes to estate planning that it's not something that you want to talk about, but here's the thing I got to tell y'all. When it comes down to people wanting to help you, for you being in the position to receive the help and support that you need, I'm going to need you to take the step for them to be empowered. Okay, so the one document. So last week we talked about this. I said, okay, now if you ain't got a lot of property yet, I'm going to say yet because I'm not going to reinforce your negative beliefs about what you're going to do in the future. But if you haven't, amassed your empire yet, but it's underway, so you may say, and I'm like 40-something, early 50-something, maybe I don't need to do estate planning. Here's one thing that I want you to think about, especially if you're in one of these situations, and it's not uncommon, unfortunately, that there are single parents where the other parent is not in the game. Okay, so this is not really talking about co-parenting at its best, where parents aren't together, but they're working together to raise these kids, and you can rely on, and here's the thing we're talking about today. So if something were to happen to you, and you were not able to deal with your day-to-day affairs, say if they said you have to be in the hospital for 30 days, 2 weeks, 10 days, 14 days, 21 days, and say you got a business, say you got children, and you're not able to do your day-to-day affairs, and you need someone to do that, because maybe after you in the hospital for a month, maybe for another, and you got a recovery period of another 6 weeks, you're just not mobile. You're with us, but you're just not mobile. You want to think about people who can help you manage your affairs. Now, I know sometimes you can be like, here's my debit card, go do blah, 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 blah. But say if you have to deal with your children, say that, life deals us these obstacles unexpectedly. We don't get noticed. We don't get to pencil it into our agenda that in another, when school is opening up, I'm going to get into a car accident and be in a situation or, you know what I mean? So, and even incarceration, because I don't know, this came up. So this is how relevant this is to my life. On my Avo profile, I got a message from an inmate who is incarcerated. So he reached out and was like, what are your rates? I've been married for 20 years and I want to get a divorce. So incarceration popped up, and incarceration, could be a form of incapacity that doesn't make it possible for you to take care of your life or take care of your kids or do what you got to do in this durable. So what I'm talking about today is the powers of attorney that you want to have in place so that you can make sure that people can do what they need to do for you. And this is the unique one that I did recently that I had not come across, was granting someone the limited power of attorney to deal with your children, enrolling them in school, and all the other stuff you got to do with kids, you know what I mean? Enrolling them with school, getting their medical records, things like that. Now, what happens is every time you do estate planning, and this document is really powerful, and it's not that complicated for me to put together. Now, you don't do this, because every time I tell you guys you're downloading legal documents and here's the thing about this, I wouldn't gamble it, because you won't know whether this document, unless you do your diligence, this document is acceptable until you need it. And that's not the time that you want to figure out that you done downloaded the wrong form, you ain't get it signed right. That would be a tragedy. And then that's when you want to pick up the phone and call me and say, I'm like, you should have called me. You know what I'm saying? So this is something that, is doesn't take a lot of time to get done. If you're not in the Maryland and D.C. area, by all means, if you need an estate or planning attorney where you are, happy to give you referrals. Our network is wonderful. I tell you guys that all the time. For any legal matter that you have, give me a call. I'll connect you with a person that will deliver and provide you with the service that you deserve. So we're talking about this power of attorney, okay? Making sure at a minimum, this is like insurance. I mean, this is the minimalist view of estate planning. At a minimum, if you have minor kids, I need for you to have executed a power of attorney that gives someone else the ability to act on behalf of your children in your stead. Now, well, remember, in the beginning of this, I said this is not where parents, mom and dad are both co-parenting. This document will not trump the other parent's rights. You're not going to write them out your child's life with the power of attorney. I know how y'all be thinking. As soon as I said it, you'd be like this, well, if I execute this document, can his father still come get him? Yes. Okay? This document is where there's estranged parents. Those disappearing parents sometimes, they ain't calling, they ain't come around. So if something go down, they're not going to be the ones to step up, okay? This is that situation. So when you want grandma to go register them for school, they're going to need some documentation saying they're authorized to let you do and act on behalf of these children that are not... You're not their natural parent. Now, I know grandmas don't go up in there, but that's my grandbaby, and that's my natural grandbaby, and blah, blah, blah. I know grandmas, I know, and you probably will talk them into doing it by the time you get done. But if you just want to be on the right side of the law, estate planning for those mothers. So grandmas out there, make sure, check in. You want to be a good grandparent. You want to be a good auntie. You know what I mean? You want to think about your grandbabies and your nieces and your nephews and your great-grands and your great-nieces. And you know that child, that mother, that parent is trying their best. But they're kind of, they are the sole parent involved. This is the estate planning document. You need this power of attorney, and you need it, to make sure that it's there at a minimum to take care of the kids. I would definitely advise a more robust power of attorney that gives you the ability. I'm just not going to give you one for child care, because that document, what we're talking about, this document enables you to go and do the banking and the da-da-da. Now, the person executing the POA, think carefully. Now, what I just said is you're conferring a lot of legal power for someone to act as you, meaning they rolling up in the bank, they cashing checks, they doing everything that you could do.
1 minute.
So you want to be careful and thoughtful about the person that you trust to do this. And I know we all have trusted loved ones, so I'm sure you do have a really reliable person that you can rely on. The document. So when we get back, we're going to come on the other side of traffic and weather, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the importance of the safekeeping and safeguarding of this all-important, all-powerful document and how you should manage it. So stay tuned. Thank you for listening to the Carmiece Graves Radio Show. Don't go anywhere. Stay right where you are. We'll be back after traffic and weather. All right, Facebook family, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you are learning something. I know you are, because in my practice, I'm learning something. And like I said, very personal to me, found myself researching and learning about the provisions that we could put in a power of attorney that will enable us, a parent, to work on behalf of their children, confer that authority to someone else. Because when you don't do that, then you got to go get guardianship. Again, the court. Estate planning avoids the court. That's a long process. You need to get these kids in school. Now, maybe you got to file an emergency. I don't know if they're going to grant that, but you're rushing around now. Things happen fast. Things happen unexpectedly. I don't want you to have heard about this issue the first time after something done went down. So if you are in that scenario or your loved one is in that scenario, at a minimum, you need that power of attorney. You need to have the right provisions in there. Welcome back to the Carmiece Graves Radio Show. I'm attorney CPA Carmiece T. Graves, practicing estate planning, family law, and bankruptcy in Maryland and the District of Columbia. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much, because when I was at that PNC event, I was there. The moderator was the second generation owner of the Informer newspaper. So cool to meet her, because I was featured in the Informer when I danced with my West African dance community class, Conqueron. I don't want to put it out there like I'm a professional dancer, but when you see Mama do her thing, you'd be like, you could have did that, girl. Y'all know I was going to be silly at some point in the show. But anyway, I got to meet her, and a woman was like, I know your voice. So I was like, oh my God, you know my voice? Because that happened to me actually in the studio. I passed Ange, and I had not, I still don't look up radio personalities. I'm old school. We're just used to not knowing what they look like, right? And she was in the garage, and I heard her voice, and I'm like, I know that voice. But you make up in your mind what you think a person looks like, and I'm like, but I didn't think, is that what? I'm like, is that really her? It was really cool. I had that little experience. Humble on me. But anyway, thank you guys for listening. It's the point of that little story. I really appreciate it. So, we're talking about minimalist estate planning. When you do estate planning, what you do is you avoid the courts. They slow, they're expensive, and it's just a way around it. Now, if you don't have any, the court should always, it's the court, they all should be the court of last resort, okay? Infamously known as the Supreme Court, where that's the last if it's a federal claim, right? It could be the Court of Appeals. I got technical. Sorry, I'm an attorney. But anyway, and going to court should be your last ditch attempt. If you do estate planning, you get to avoid that process, because you're going to come and you're going to sit down and you're going to want me to act fast. Okay, Miss Graves, there's been an emergency. What can I do? Well, I'm going to say, well, what have you done? What have you done? What do you have going on? Well, my daughter and my grandbaby and school and daycare. I'm not on the legal authority stuff. They don't have me listed. I can't do this. I can't do that. And she can't do it, and they need it. What can I do? Well, can she sign legal documents? Does she have capacity, or he have capacity? Does the parent have capacity to sign a document? Hopefully the answer is yes, because then I can move fast and get it done so you can go and do what you need to do. Now, if that child has lost capacity for whatever reason and can't sign any documents, we're stuck with going to court. And they're not that fast, okay? And they're costly. By the time you pay the money to have gone to court, you could have got a whole sexy trust done for the rest of you and your family. And you're not going to like my answer. So, to make sure that we're ahead of the ball, that we have the information we need in our community, that's the purpose of this show, education. So, what I'm going to need you to do is think about, okay, maybe I don't want to sit down and write a will and talk about me being dead. I get it. Maybe I ain't got all those assets to put in that big old trust sheet talking about. Not yet. But I want you to think about taking care of yourself. This is an act of self-care. Okay? This is about taking care of yourself. And there's so much to do here as human beings. We have so much to do. We're so busy. I understand, okay? I understand and I get it. I'm not on no soapbox. When you tell people oh, do this, it's like a million things we got to do, right? It's a million things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep saying it. And at one point, there's going to be an opportunity that you're going to have a breath, or you're going to feel the urgency that, I want to make sure that my kids are good. I want to make sure that I'm good. And I have a person that's willing to help me and make sure that I'm okay if anything goes down. And it could. I'm not going to act like it won't. That would not be smart. I'll take the time. Put it on your list. It ain't got to be, I would love for it to be at the top of your list, but come on now, we got a lot to do. But put it on the list. Put it on the things that you need to get done. And at some point, you will take that action. And I hope that if you get, now listen to me, y'all. If your intuition, if this resonates with you and you get a strong inclination, I need to do that. You know how that voice be like, you know what, I need to do that. Okay, it'd be like call, and you'd be like, okay, and the number is 240-573-7153. Ha, that's so funny. But anyway, if you get the intuition to call, you know how some be like, something told me. If you get the something told me, do not hesitate on the something told me. Act fast, do what you gotta do. Maryland, DC, call me. Y'all know how to reach me. Not in these areas, call me. I'll get you connected. Because that's your intuition. That is your spiritual intel from the heavens and from the divine creator directly that you need to act, and something's about to happen. And I want you to be able to sail through this obstacle with as little grief as possible. Okay? So if you have any, and I'm telling you, start training your life to tune in and listen to the inclinations you have, because those are your tips on how to avoid the traffic, congestion, and strife of life, to minimize it. We are, after last week's show, engineer over there asked me, do we think that we are smarter than we were? Are we smarter now than we were back in the day, back when we was on plantations and back. And my question was, I know that there's a lot of education afoot, and knowledge is really good. But I think that anytime you look at us as a community, the times that we were more spiritually aligned, we will always be our greatest selves, okay? So when you're pressed with adversity and you know there's nothing on this earth that anybody could do for you, you go within and you look above. And when we were pressed in the adversities that we were pressed in, we had no choice but to be spiritual. Now, as things get a little better and you feel like you done got some rights, feel like you in, and that things is done and we all good, maybe we are not as pressed and maybe we don't look within as much. Now we're thinking about, taking advantage of the opportunities our ancestors, brought forth for us. Man, you coming out with your life plan, gonna go to school, gonna do this, gonna do that, blah, 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 blah. All you gotta do is do what you're told to do and it should all work out. Well, life will teach you along the way that adversity will always be the source that brings you closer to your inner being. And that will always be the strongest place for you to be. It's always the source of greatness. Everybody's story, all of the greats have it. All of the greats know it. That's why most of them were brought forth from adversity. Because when you hit rock bottom, you be like, well, God, ain't no place but up, so where we going? You throw your hands up, you surrender. You be like this, I ain't got this figured out. So, and one of the things that I feel that's been a benefit to me is kind of always, I guess because I'm always reaching really high, I'm always doing something like, woo, girl, we out here right now. I'm always kind of going within because I'm a humble person. Because I'm, I'm New York girl, I was Brooklyn girl with some dreams of hopefully, not getting caught up, not getting stuck, in the inner city, whatever was going on. I was just trying to make it up out of there. I'm trying to live. I was already a military child, so I had moved and lived in different areas. So, Beirut, Brooklyn landed on me seriously. And I was just always come on, God, I need to get up out of here. What we gonna do? College? Okay. Help me through college, God. Help me pray. I'm gonna understand what this accounting professor is talking about. I swear, accounting brought me to prayer. And then when I got out of school and I had my resume and I had my big job and I was not still fulfilled, still feel like I should feel like I have arrived. I graduated with honors. I'm working with a Big 4 accounting firm. I'm in New York City. I'm doing this and I'm like, this still ain't cutting the mustard. And it's always been me going back to the source. And it's tricky because the environment really entices you to stay focused on it. And that is the battle. That is the battle. Who are you going to spend your time and attention on and with? And whether that situation is going to help spiritually align you to unlock all of the wisdom and grace and power that you have to achieve all that you want. That's just, it doesn't matter what genre, it doesn't matter what career. And I have so much appreciation for all of the different sorts of, because I was asking myself this week, and I'm like, what is my purpose? I mean, God, tell me. I mean, this is a very unconventional life, to say the least, And you would think, well, Carmiece, isn't it obvious? You're a lawyer and you're an accountant, but that was a career path for me. It was a career path for me. Not that I felt like it was my central purpose, although it was spiritually ordained, but still I'm like this, well, bring me up to speed, Lord. Where are we going with this? And the message was simple. Your job is to help relieve suffering of my children that are descended on this sojourn along with you. They will come to serve and relieve your suffering, and you will go and serve to relieve theirs. And, I was like, that was deep. That was deep, God. That was deep. That was deep. Oh, that's some comedian's joke somewhere. I think I saw it in one of those movies. Every time they said that, I was dying. But anyway, on a serious note, that's what it's all about. So think about that. Think about it's difficult being a human being. We're all here. We're all trying. Work to kind of, relieve suffering. That's what the Carmiece Graves law firm does in terms of family law, estate planning, bankruptcy. It is all really about relieving suffering where I can in these areas in which I'm skilled and trained to serve. And people come and my angels come and support me and take care of me instead. So I said in turn, not instead. That would be the right word. So anyway, thanks so much for tuning in. This is the Carmiece Graves radio show. If you guys have questions or comments, you've been, reaching me on Facebook. Feel free to like my page, share my videos, go on the website. But I'm here. If you need to talk and figure out what next best steps are, give me a call. You know how to reach me. My information will play shortly at the end of this segment. And I'll see you guys next week. Take care of yourself. Let's take care of each other, and till then, be good.
You've been listening to the Carmiece Graves Show with attorney Carmiece Graves. To reach Attorney Graves, please call 240-573-7153. That's 240-573-7153. Be sure to tune in next Tuesday at 10 a.m. right here on WOL 1450 AM, where information is power.
Thanks.
Good morning. I'm Nick Bovey. Here's the latest from News1.com. Brought to you by KFC.